second quarter, folks. Second quarter is sponsored by Pork Rinds, America's second favorite pork skin. We have them every show. Every. Without fail. Different flavors, too.
Sauce au lemon.
I don't like that one too much. All right, let's talk about some scores here. Let's do a brief overview of the Packers and Lambs. First of all, watching this game, it was a very winnable game for the Rams. They had the Packers in a human position of, we can beat you, and the offense was on the cusp of doing it. They just kept either penalties or punts. The punter was the MVP today, or yesterday.
He's been the MVP all season, unfortunately.
Usually it's Josh Brown.
Oh.
Anyway, Sam Bradford actually outthrew Aaron Rodgers, which is unusual.
What?
Sam threw for 321 yards, but he was also sacked 3 times. He threw to 6 different wide receivers. I have to say, for the most part, what I did notice yesterday was Steven Jackson was running with attitude yesterday. He looked good. He had 96 yards. Denario Alexander had 91 yards. Was looking pretty good, but he could have had a lot more on the opening drive. Opening drive or second drive, I forget. Down the middle, open, pass on the fingertips, didn't catch it. And there's another one on a third down conversion he also missed, but that was kind of a bad pass. Yeah. On that one, there's a guy open and Sam missed him. Other than that, Sam Bradford was doing his part. I really free Sam Bradford. Will you please free Sam Bradford?
Give him better team.
The O-line played better. They only allowed 3 sacks. It's better than 5 or 6 or 7.
Right. Yeah. That's still. I'm sure that the pressure was still on, even though he didn't get hit.
It was.
So they're still not doing their job, and that's what it boils down to. Is he's not able to make the passes that he should because they're not giving them the protection that they need to.
But to hold Green Bay to 24 points at Lambeau, and those are pretty much first half points.
Yeah.
They had every opportunity to win this game. They just don't have offense. They're the lowest points in the league, I think you said today.
They are. They have the lowest points per average.
Who thought that going in? There's a lot of receiver issues between who we had and who we don't have. Now we have Brandon Lloyd, and we'll discuss that later. But the Rams did sign Brandon Lloyd today, so that's going to be a good plus on the offensive side. But you'll cover more of that later. Yeah. But I just want to say that it was just a game that they could have won. I wish they would have. The Packers were under 100 yards rushing, and the touchdowns were all in the air. Aaron Rodgers did his job, 3 touchdowns, 310 yards, and 1 pick.
We were talking earlier before the show. Steven Jackson had more yards rushing than 3 different rushers for Green Bay. Yeah, and he's one man. Yeah. You know? So he did his job.
And Aaron Rodgers
He did much.
Aaron Rodgers threw to 7 wide receivers yesterday, not 12, 7.
That's still a lot, though. I mean, no matter who's out there, he tosses it all over.
He had a normal game.
Yeah.
And the Rams just couldn't. I did not expect this lack of offense, and that's what's really holding them back. Yep. I don't think this season will be salvageable, even with the signing of Brandon Lloyd.
Oh, no.
Cadillac came and had a decent game also. We had a good rushing game yesterday. Kendricks had 71 yards receiving. Salas had 77. So, he spread the ball around pretty decently. They just don't have the offense. We brought in Josh McDaniel to change that, and it hasn't worked out. So CT, did the Rams win 2, 3, 4 games down the stretch?
At this point, it's really, honestly, hard for me to say that they'll win anything. If they do, it's going to be luck, because they're not clicking on any one thing. If their offense happens to be having a decent game, their defense slouches. Yeah. Whenever their defense is on, like this week, their offense slouches. They've got nothing going for them at any one time to where it syncs up the way that they need it to. Yeah. Because whenever their defense is on, it's against a team that has a better defense. Or whenever their offense is on, it's against a team that has a better offense. And each side slacks off against the side that they don't need to worry about so much.
I'll tell you the number one thing for me on just my opinion that they need to change. And this is the statistic that I was trying to remember earlier before the show. 37.5% of the time the Rams have the ball, it's 3 and out.
Yes, that's what that was.
It's 3 and out, and that has got to change.
The punter is the MVP.
That has got to change.
Look at their schedule. They had a bye week, so there's no more weeks off. They have Dallas, New Orleans. They can beat Arizona. They can probably beat Cleveland. Maybe beat Seattle. Maybe Arizona again.
Maybe beat
They got San Francisco coming up twice. They got Pittsburgh and Cincinnati.
Yeah.
They got Seattle twice.
It's not looking good for them at this point. The best that they can hope for is a high draft pick again.
And get a left guard.
Yeah.
Somebody that protects somebody.
We need
Yep.
Michael Orr.
Yeah. Yeah. For real. We really do.
They've got to do something.
Sam
at this
Bradford
point.
is doing all he can, and he needs some help. Let's
Right.
move on and get out of the Rams thing before I get irritated. All right, so they lost 24-3. They're 0-5. Green Bay is 6-0, looking unbeatable. But yesterday they played the Rams and had their worst game of the year, if you ask me.
I would agree with that, but I don't necessarily know if it was something that the Rams did or if they were just having an off day.
It was those damn uniforms they wore.
That's probably what.
Yeah.
Did you see those throwbacks?
Oh, yeah.
Those were silly.
Disgusting.
They're not as bad as the Broncos ones last
No
year.
except.
Yeah.
All right, Minnesota, Chicago. Big problems in Minnesota, man.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at Chicago first. Cutler was 21 of 31 for 267 yards and 2 touchdowns. Forte, 87 yards.
Nice.
Barber had a touchdown, so that's good. Peterson, who didn't do much.
Who didn't do much?
Who needed to do much?
Adrian Peterson did not do much.
39
That's
yards
right.
rushing.
That's
McNabb
unacceptable.
had
No
177 yards and no touchdowns.
No except.
So, here we go again. First it was Tebow. It was Gabbard earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's time for Christian Ponder to take the field, huh?
Yep.
Yes.
I would agree. I mean, they pulled him. They pulled McNabb, and it's done too soon. They should have done this the last game. This whole game should have been Ponder, in my opinion.
No, because they won last week and had a game.
I personally thought this entire season should have been Ponder.
I didn't
won't
like
argue
McNabb
with
there.
that.
I didn't like McNabb there. We discussed this last week. But we also said that we thought they wouldn't pull him unless they had a disastrous game, and they did.
Right.
So we kind of foretold that one. But like I said, McNabb started the game because they won last week. But if Ponder goes in, I think he stays.
I think that he should.
I think
mean,
McNabb's career is done, actually.
Yeah. Sad to say too, honestly. For
Well,
me, because-
he's kind of like Mark Sanchez. He took the Eagles to the championship game a few times. They did go to Super Bowl once.
Yeah.
They didn't win it, but they went to it.
I mean, they
not
played
as
the
fans,
Patriots.
as players.
Yeah.
Minnesota don't take them very seriously, regardless of who's in there. Unless Peters are out, they got Peterson on the offensive side. They got the sack master, Jared Allen on the other side. They have enough people to win some
They have
games,
players.
but they're not going to compete
Yeah.
for a playoff spot. Chicago, by the way, is kind of like the Giants. You never know what team's going to show up each week.
oh yeah.
By the way, Devin Hester got hurt yesterday.
I know.
He had a
And isn't he? He's only 2 kickoff returns away from Deion Sanders' record.
I think so.
Yeah,
all
right.
time
Right now he
record.
hurt. He broke Metcalf's record. Now we have Dion to look at.
Mhm.
He had a kickoff return for a touchdown yesterday and a receiving touchdown.
Mhm.
So he had a good game, but he got hurt. So we'll see what happens with that. Moving on to Carolina, Atlanta. I actually picked Carolina to win yesterday, and it was close for a while
Yeah.
until late in the fourth quarter. And he was electrifying as always. Cam Newton was.
Yes, he
Cam
was.
Newton looked great.
He is the best player on the worst team in comparison, in my opinion.
They're not the worst team. The
Well,
Rams. are
I'm
the
not
worst
saying
team.
that they're the
The
worst
Colts
team.
are better than the
I'm
Rams.
saying that he's the best player in comparison to his team.
Oh, I got you.
And he just no matter what's going on in the game, he delivers. He'll deliver in the rush. He'll deliver in the pass. He gets touchdowns. It's crazy. He's everywhere. He does everything, and he does it well.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely, if he can keep this up, he'll be top quarterback in 2 years, tops. Easy.
My only concern with Cam Newton is to get all cocky about it, which I see as a possibility.
That's
Yeah.
very possible, but at the same time, though, being on the team that he's on will have to humble him some
You would hope so.
because they're not getting the W's.
Yeah.
They're not getting the wins, even though he's putting on the great
But
performances.
is he going to be like these Eagles guys who spoke, hey, I got my stats, I'm looking good? Or is he a team guy?
I don't think that he will be like that, to be honest with you. I think that this year it might seem like that just because that's the way Carolina's going.
Mhm.
But he's gonna take charge next year, I think, and lead them to more wins as opposed to his high stats.
I think he's a good leader right now. He's good on the field in that aspect, but I just worry about the hot dogging thing and the better he does, the more he thinks, look at me.
Yeah.
That's a concern. What do you think about Cam Newton's future
I think
this year?
I think so far this year he's showing that he's a good leader. I mean, he's responding well to the adversity that has been thrown at him, with being a rookie quarterback, and the numbers that he's been putting up are just ungodly.
Outstanding
And
numbers.
he doesn't really seem like he's buckling to the pressure,
Uh-uh.
of all the, I guess, the naysayers and all that different all the different things that were happening, before he got drafted and all that stuff. And at Auburn, he showed that he was a good leader. He led Auburn to the national championship. They won the national championship. He did his job. So I don't necessarily think that the hot dogging thing is something to worry about as much as just the consistency. Like, I want to see him to be able to keep, if he's going to keep putting these numbers up, and he's showing this as a rookie, keep doing it, keep showing it, keep working that,
Yep.
you know,
Right.
earn.
I agree.
You know, earn.
Consistency is definitely what you need.
Exactly.
Well, you know, the first few weeks he had like 400-something yards, and that's dwindled down a little bit. He's been a little more consistent with the numbers. He
Yeah.
had 237 yards in the air yesterday, 3 picks, and 50 yards rushing with their running back at 48 yards.
Right.
And I called that like 3 weeks ago, that I said he wouldn't be keeping up these high numbers, but he'll be keeping up good numbers. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's staying relatively consistent, and he's not trying to do too much anymore, like he did those first couple of games, which, I mean, those were both losses, but now he's kind of trying to, I guess, be more
Smart.
about it.
Mhm.
He's trying to not necessarily take charge, he's trying to make other people play their part.
You know,
Right.
and one thing that could contribute to the fact that he only had 237 yards this week is the fact that Steve Smith only had, what, like 59 or 60 or...
Yeah, it wasn't very
Yeah,
much.
he didn't have very much at all. So I mean, and the last, and you know, and the 2 or 3 times that he's put up, you know, 400 plus or 300 plus, Steve Smith has had 100-yard plus games.
Yeah.
So you know, and it kind of helps when you have a weapon like that.
Definitely.
Well, the NFL has been very pass happy this year. Now, let's just look at that here. He threw the ball 35 times. You should get more touchdowns out of that.
True. Less,
I mean,
less picks out of that.
Like I said, 3 picks.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been a lot of guys that are throwing. You know, McNabb threw the ball 24 times. That's an issue on the OC's part. Cutler threw the ball 31 times. You know, Newton 35. I mean, there's a lot of guys throwing the ball a lot, but I think the more you see the passes, the numbers go up as far as pass attempts. You
Mhm.
need to yield more results.
Right.
Other than that, Atlanta, Michael Turner had 139 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Woo!
Michael Turner is
Went
stunning it up this
Yeah.
year.
You know-
as far as that goes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you think Tomlinson is getting more yards out of the backfield in New York than San Diego? I haven't really looked at that.
Not necessarily. I don't think so. I think that he had much more success. You know.
I think he's used less because kind of, well, he's older and whatnot, but the Giants,
Right.
the Jets are trying to sort of, like you said, they're supposed to be a smash mouth team, and they're the 20th in the league in rushing.
Yeah. It's not.
They have decent people back there, but
I mean,
they don't
sure.
have a lights out running back.
Right. Very
The
true.
Jets, and they have
You know,
Miami tonight, so they have a chance to win the game.
Yeah. Hopefully.
The funny thing about that, though, is that Sean Green, whenever you get into the postseason, he's a completely
He's an
different
animal.
player.
He's an animal.
He is like, you know, like the Frank Gore and the Forte and the Turner. He turns that up in the postseason. Why the hell isn't he doing it during the regular season? That's what I want to know.
Let's
Because
call
you
him up
know
and ask him.
he has the ability, because he's shown it 2 years running now in the
It's all
postseason.
got jewels on it.
But
It's pretty.
whenever it cuts into the regular season, he flops.
He does.
He flopped last year. He's flopping this year.
So
What's up
far,
with that?
so far, Sean Green has only got 234 yards rushing. This is the 6th game of the season.
That's that's
It's awful.
very bad.
Going to his points per, what is it?
PPR, points per reception.
Points per reception. As far as, you know, your fantasy aspect of things, Freddie Jackson, 16 carries, 121 yards, 1 touchdown, 5 receptions, 47 yards.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And they lost.
Yeah, yeah, right. I mean, considering that the only
That
other...
was a damn good football game.
It was a great football game. Great football game.
Eli didn't win it for him.
No.
was on
Ahmed Bradshaw won it for him. 26 carries, 104 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Wow.
See, the thing that makes me so mad about Bradshaw is he has a game like that, and then he'll have a game like Peterson just had
39
next week.
Who didn't do much.
Who didn't do much? Who didn't do much?
Yeah.
But that's what makes me so mad about him, is because he's either like A game or F game. There's no B, C, or D.
Yeah.
It's just A or F. There's no in between for him.
Honestly, you know, I would say the thing as far as, I mean, that concerns me as far as the Giants running game. That concerns me the most as far as the
They
Giants
should have
running
that
game. because
thunder and
Brandon-
lightning thing.
Exactly,
working.
because where's Jacobs been? He's really had
Exactly.
like maybe one good
Yeah,
game and he's not even broken
been-
100 yards yet.
Yeah.
You know? But Eli Manning, 65.6% completion rating, 292 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. You have 2 receivers, Nix and Ballard, who had 4 receptions. Nix had 4 receptions, 96 yards, no touchdowns. Ballard, 5 receptions, 81 yards,
That's
no
9
touchdowns.
receptions between the 2.
Right,
Eli.
right. 9 receptions
Yeah.
between the 2, almost 300 yards passing,
And
and you
Nix
can't.
is
and you still can't find the end
Nix
zone.
is very
Nix
good.
is like Knox in Chicago.
And not to mention, you know, these guys both had 96 and 81, and then Mario Manningham also had like 4. I think he had 57. So you have, you know, 3 receivers there who are doing their job and they're catching the balls that you're throwing to them, and they just can't get it in the end zone. You know, you have to rely on your running back, who had an ungodly. I mean, 3 touchdowns for Ahmed Bradshaw.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
That's outstanding.
That's great.
There's a running back that we'll discuss later in your segment that I believe averaged about 9 yards a carry yesterday.
Yes, sir. We'll hit on that for sure.
That's freaking spectacular.
That's awesome. That is amazing.
So, it just goes to show that in the NFL, if you can really find that balanced offense with the running game and the passing game and the running backs out of the backfield, and even if you have the Giants with the Thunder and Lightning thing, they should be knocking people over like bowling pins, but they're not. Eli Manning, based on his numbers, you'd think he'd rely more on the running game. And I'm not saying he didn't, but at the same time, the more you have that running game, the more you open up your passing game, so Eli makes better numbers.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're the only Manning playing this year, for Christ's sake. Eli, come on, man.
Set up that play action.
Let's
for
say it
sure.
together. Come on,
man.
All right, well, on to halftime, folks, here at Pigskin Holiday, live from the Pig Sty with Mario, Ed, Carl, Jen, and Cat Jackson. See you in a little bit.
It takes it on the case.